drugs being slipped into drinks, commonly called getting roofied.
I hit my head on the bathtub.
It goes from 0 to 10 very quickly.
It's a way to do sexual assault, physical assault, robbery.
These pictures are me in a GHB-induced coma. I have no recollection as to what happened. Especially being a dude, it's a shameful experience.
The solution to save people from getting their drinks spiked. Well, imagine going to a party or a bar and then waking up the next morning without your car keys, wallet, phone, or any recollection of how you got home. You're violently ill and find out from friends that you were acting completely out of character. Then you go to the hospital because you know something is off. It isn't just that you drank too much, you aren't just hungover. And what you're feeling is way worse than anything you've ever had before. People all over America are flooding social media with similar stories of date rape drugs being slipped into their drinks, commonly called getting roofied. Take a look.
2 years ago on Halloween, I got roofied.
I was roofied at a music festival.
Fortunately, I do have some experience in this topic because I've been roofied twice.
How common it is for people to say that they were roofied or drugged in that establishment.
And had never really gotten sick like I did that first time I got roofied.
Here's a quick story about how I've been roofied twice.
I was drugged last weekend in Los Angeles, and this is how my roommate found me passed out in our elevator.
Unfortunately, I was roofied at a bar in Dallas, Texas.
So for all of you out there putting drugs in girls' or boys' drinks, know that it can kill someone.
Now, college student Riley Strain was with his fraternity at a Nashville bar in March when his family believes he may have been drugged. He was kicked out after one drink and last seen on surveillance footage stumbling and falling down the street before going missing. Now, tragically, 2 weeks later, his body was found in a nearby river. His family is still searching for answers. Now, tonight we're delving into the chilling and pervasive crime that is haunting the streets of America. Drink spiking is a sinister act that often goes unreported and undetected. Now, I'm curious, does anybody here think it's ever happened to them at any time in their life? If so, raise your hand. Yeah, see, a lot of hands are going up in this audience. Lacey says she knew something was wrong after having a drink at the same bar in Nashville where Riley Strain was before his tragic death. Take a look at what she has to say.
I was roofied in Nashville on Broadway, and this whole Riley Strain thing is like tugging at my heartstrings. January of last year, I was at a conference, and you guys, I was totally okay, like the majority of the night, but towards the end of the night, within about a 20-minute span, I did not remember getting an Uber. I don't remember getting back to the hotel, getting in an elevator. I don't remember any of it. We got back to the hotel room and I was a mess. When I say I had never felt this level of sick and disoriented in my life, and I was aggressively throwing up. I could not stand up. I hit my head on the bathtub. And when I woke up that next morning, I remembered nothing. And it was a very scary feeling. It felt like I'd had almost a concussion. So whoever was doing this and putting roofies in drinks, they were that good. It takes 2 seconds.
Now, we're doing this because what happened to you is probably one of the most underreported crimes in the country. It's happening to a lot more people than folks realize. It's a lot more serious than people realize. This had a profound impact on you, true?
Absolutely.
You were with your boyfriend.
Well, I was with my boyfriend and my mom as well. It happened to her too, all three of us. I had that whole night 3 drinks total.
Yeah. When this happened, what was your first clue that something had gone way off the rails?
I think it was you're having a great time and you're just dancing and you're enjoying a live band, and it goes from 0 to 10 very quickly. and you just don't feel normal. That's the easiest way I can explain it, when I felt like something was going wrong.
And some people say, well, maybe these people just drink too much and don't want to say they just drank too much. But this is not like being drunk. This is not like having too much to drink. And the aftermath is not anything like a hangover, right?
And not at all. I don't think it's normal to black out and not remember anything, to feel like your body feeling like you almost got hit by a car. I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, and your mother had the same symptoms.
Mm-hmm. She was violently sick and had a fever too.
Your boyfriend he had the effects, but less so. But the ratio of weight to drug is different for him. He was bigger.
Yeah, Jason's a lot bigger than me, so it was different for him, but he still felt it.
But you had really big black spots.
I remembered nothing from leaving the bar after that.
Yeah. And when you saw what happened to Riley Strain and you saw that story, what was your reaction to that?
So when I was watching this story, there were things on the news saying, I believe his mom had spoke to him about an hour before and he was fine. And then his fraternity brothers, I believe, had said that they had drank with him and never seen him like that. And when I saw that video of him falling down and hitting his head, it reminded me of when I had, my boyfriend had said I fell and I hit the bathtub. And he looked so much more than just intoxicated to me, which is what prompted me to make that video.
Yeah. And when you put the video up, what kind of reactions did you get?
I had no idea I would get the reactions I did. There were over 2,000 people in the comment section saying the exact same thing. Weirdly enough, at the same exact bars have happened to them.
And I can tell you, and you probably know this now from the research, but there are identified hotspots around the country where there are times, there are locations, there are circumstances where this occurs more than others. So there are danger zones. And some people on your comment section talked about, well, this just happens for fun. People do it for fun. Was it funny?
It was not funny.
It also happens for really sinister reasons. Mostly it's to incapacitate women so they can do whatever they want to. It also happens to both men and women so they can get incapacitated. Then they can use their phone and open it with their facial recognition. And now they're into their bank accounts, their credit cards. They empty all of those. I mean, it's a way to do sexual assault, physical assault, robbery, identity fraud.
Absolutely.
And that's why this is such a serious sort of thing. And you've got to wonder, who does this? What kind of moral compass do these people have? Do you have any idea who did this to you?
I have no idea. There was a man at the bar buying drinks for people. But when I read the comment section and found out how often it was happening at the same bars, that seemed a little too easy to think it could have been him. And it makes me think it's someone that's there consistently.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk about a man who says he got a real shock when it was him that got drugged while he was supposed to be protecting his female friends. Like I say, it doesn't happen to just women. And because of all the reasons I said, sexual assault, robbery, this is a serious crime, and nobody seems to be doing much about this. Police don't react. Hospitals don't react. We're going to talk about this when we come back.
Date rape is a big problem in today's society. So I'm out here at a bar today, and I'm going to figure out how easy it is to drug a girl. What kind of drink do you guys get?
Vodka. Just vodka.
That was completely different. You know, it's a different atmosphere. Never been to water? No, it's for sure girls, you know? Yeah. Right off the water. Weather was good. No problem. No, I was just telling him about it. Don't drink that.
Why?
Because your friend wasn't watching, I was able to slip a drug into your drink.
Kidding me?
I didn't do it for real. We got cameras set up, and I'm doing an experiment. How easy it is to drug a girl.
But you just saw an experiment showing how easy it is for someone to slip a drug into a drink completely unnoticed. Now, we wanted to do our own experiment. So we sent a producer to see if it was really just that easy. Take a look.
How we doing, guys? How are you,
Hi.
buddy?
Good to see
Hey.
you. Hi.
Chris, I see you over there.
Hey.
How we doing, folks? Hi.
Hi.
Are you new?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah?
Haven't been here before, no.
Yeah?
I'm gonna start saying that. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of strong.
Stop. Don't drink your drink. My name's Deborah. I'm a producer for Dr. Phil Primetime. Okay. And I just want you to know that he stuck something in your drink. We wanted to show how easy it is for anybody to have something slipped in their drink without them knowing.
Just thinking about like turning your back for a second. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
When you look at that, what do you think?
How scary that is, that it's that easy, especially if the bar is crowded or there's more people.
And if you've ordered a drink and it's on a tray and it's sitting at the end of the bar, you're not even looking at it yet because you don't know it's coming to you. It could be sitting there for 2-3 minutes, whatever. And you're not watching because you don't know it's yours yet.
Yep.
And somebody could be at the end of the bar by a wait station and they could just do what they do and then watch where it goes and say, there's my target. That's the whole point here. If you don't know what's going on, you can't self-protect in that situation. No. And just that quick, it can change somebody's life. Now, my next guest, Dom, says his entire life changed after taking just one shot at a bar while celebrating St. Patrick's Day with friends just last year. Take a look.
My story begins March 17th, 2023. Me and a group of friends went out to bars in Ann Arbor, and a night that we thought was gonna be a good holiday turned out to be the most traumatic days of our life. We went to the bar and ordered drinks and didn't think anything of it, but it turns out that our drinks was spiked. I didn't have any idea, and even at 10-11 p.m., I thought everything was fine. I recorded a Snapchat with one of my friends, fully aware and cognizant of what I was doing. But then, at 10:39, everything went black. I don't remember a single thing. When we got into the Uber, I threw up everywhere, all over myself and my friends, and in this poor person's Uber. We got back to my friend's apartment. These pictures are me in a GHB-induced coma, not responding to my friend. My heart rate is very weak, and if it wasn't for them laying me on my side, I would have choked and died on my own vomit. I tell my story because I know this happens to a lot of people, but I feel like a lot of men are too ashamed to talk about their experiences. If I can shine awareness that this happens to men, and you're not any less masculine for this happening, we can stop these bad actors who are spiking drinks in their tracks.
Okay, Dom, thanks for being here, and thanks for being willing to talk about this.
100%. I feel like for something like this, especially being a dude, it's a shameful experience based on how our roles are as men. We are the bravado, we're the big, we're the gaudy. We're not the ones that are supposed to have this happen. And I hate to say it like this, we're often the known perpetrators for situations like this. And so even for my story, I was aware of that, trying to stop that from happening. And it happened to me, which is almost a culture shock, really.
Do you have any idea who did it?
I have zero clue as to who did this. I mean, I will recount, I've tried to talk to that bar and they haven't reached out to me. I've reached out multiple times through email, Instagram. They've gave me the runaround. They don't want to talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm. And you say, according to friends, you had a complete shift in personality, behavior. You just really not who you are.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I can put some drinks down. Like, I've had fun in college, right? But you know your limits and you know what you can and you can't do. And if someone's describing that I'm ready to punch people, I'm at a fist fight, ready at the bar, choking people, shoving people out of the way, when in my entire life, I've never acted like that, even when I've had too much, it's a call for concern.
Yeah. How much of it did you recall?
From 10:39 until 7 a.m., I have no recollection as to what happened.
So it clicked off at that point.
It was like you shut the TV off.
And just minutes before, there's records, there's evidence that you were completely coherent.
Perfectly fine, having conversations, deep conversations. Like, I was talking to my friend that was in that video. We haven't seen each other for a year. I'm talking about his new job and nothing after that. Like, it's a very scary situation.
Yeah. All right. Coming up, a woman who says she was drugged at a bar on New Year's Eve, and instead of getting help at the hospital, was judged for wearing a short dress. We'll talk to her next. Well, joining us tonight is Mia, who was so sick after just a few drinks on New Year's Eve that she requested a date rape drug test at the hospital, but was told they just were unavailable. Mia, how dismissive were they about this whole thing?
They were incredibly dismissive. They really just tried to convince me that I had been drinking too much and that perhaps that was the reason that I had felt so ill right away. It was New Year's Eve. Obviously, it's a busy night in the hospital, for one, and there are a lot of people like myself who want to go out and have a good time. I was, dressed up nice to go out with my friends, and I think they just sort of looked, gave me a once-over and said, yeah, well, whatever happened is probably on you.
We actually have a copy of your provider notes. This is on 1/1/23. It says, she did again request testing for possible poisoning of her drink. I advised her we cannot test for GHB and drug testing at this time is not indicated, giving her clinical sobriety and stability. So what were they telling you? That you were okay now, so don't worry about it?
So when I got to the hospital, I was still fading in and out of consciousness and essentially had the chance to sleep off the drugs in the hospital. So when I awoke, I had asked for a drug test again, and they kind of brushed me off, said, we're not really able to do that. And they just said that there wasn't really a need to. They did put the alcohol overdose on my paperwork as well, even though not once did they take any blood or even have a blood alcohol content for me. They said in my paperwork that I had admitted to drinking, which was true, but nowhere near that amount, and they just wrote it off as alcohol overdose.
And the problem with a lot of the date rape drugs, like we've been talking about here, is they don't last very long in the blood. They hit hard, incapacitate, and then dissipate, which is why they're used so much by the perpetrators. And oftentimes, even the police, the hospital or the police won't take a report unless there's evidence of assault, correct?
That is correct. And that's exactly what happened to me as well. The hospital suggested I go to the police department. So the very next day I tried to file a report and they turned me away because I hadn't been assaulted.
Well, what about the crime of being poisoned?
Which is exactly what I went to report. And I think, most important with these cases is that data collection. So they can see, if people are getting drugged at this bar on this day at this time, maybe there's something to be looked at rather than just brushing it off since there was no physical assault.
Yeah. Coming up, a woman roofied whose story went viral. Find out why an apology from the hospital that dismissed her request for a drug test wasn't enough, and thank God it wasn't. We'll talk about that next.
People are surprised to learn that we actually don't test for roofies in the emergency department. Every hospital is different in the things that they carry. If someone was really, really sick and not waking up and required admission in ICU, then they might be able to add on that test, but it's typically a specialty test and they only run it at certain labs. Like, that is not a routine blood test that we would perform at the hospital.
Well, Brindley is a college student from Boston who felt certain she was roofied, but denied the date rape drug test at the hospital.
I am a third-year public health student at Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts. In the fall of 2022, I was actually roofied off campus, and as soon as I realized, I went to Mass General Hospital emergency room to get tested for date rape drugs.
I got roofied Saturday night. I get to the ER, the doctor asks me what happened, I tell her all of the info. She goes, unfortunately, because you weren't sexually assaulted or raped, we can't test you for any date rape drugs. And she literally has the audacity to go, since there was no criminal activity involved. Tell me why drugging someone isn't considered criminal activity in a hospital setting.
I I posted about my experience on TikTok. People would reach out to me through my comments and messages and DMs telling me about the same or very, very similar stories that they've been through with date rape, drugs, and testing. This is what propelled me to actually work with Mass General Hospital to make some protocol changes in their emergency and toxicology departments. This was only the beginning. After this, Senator Paul Feeney of Bristol County in Massachusetts reached out to me saying that he wanted to make some sort of legislation to push the change that I'm looking for and make sure that nobody goes through my same experience. That was the creation of Bill S-1371, which has since, as I've heard, inspired other states to kind of create the same or very similar legislations. It's super exciting and rewarding to know that I'm helping this amount of people.
Okay, Brindley, thanks for being here and talking about this. And you've been talking about this a lot. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's talk about what happened, because this was at a private party, right?
Yes, it was.
So somebody handed you a seltzer when you got there.
Somebody gave me a drink. It was like a trusted friend. It was closed when she gave it to me. And I'd been drinking it throughout the night and had just been like leaving it on a ledge. Like I wasn't being super safe with it, but it was also like a friend's house. So I wasn't really thinking about it too much. And then the last thing I remember is falling asleep.
Yeah. And you were still on the first seltzer you were given. Now, when you asked the doctor for a date rape test, they said no because
I wasn't sexually assaulted or raped. She said, why would you even want to get tested if you weren't sexually assaulted or raped? And that's when I kind of pushed back and was like, well, why wouldn't I? You know, like I was essentially poisoned. It's still criminal activity just because I wasn't dually violated sexually and physically. And they were just like, we're sorry, we're going to have to discharge you and we can't test you.
Well, they went to get a doctor at one point, left you sitting there for an hour and a half, right? And your school health insurance did cover a urine test. And so they did test for Rohypnol, which is the roofie drug.
Yeah.
And it came back positive. So you, in fact, had confirmation that you had been drugged.
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you do then?
After that, immediately after I posted that video on TikTok, you could see me pacing in the video. I was so upset. And then that's when like pretty much my entire life just changed after posting that video.
So you started advocating for a policy change in the hospital's ER and toxicology policies, right?
Yes, yeah. So I worked with the patient advocacy with a woman on the team. And I worked with Mass General, their toxicology and emergency departments to change their date rape drug testing policies. It took a few months, but eventually they let me know that they now do offer date rape drug testing for people in both Mass General and Brigham and Women's without sexual assault or rape as part of the case. And they also have implemented new trauma-informed care in their emergency department. So victims who do think they've been roofied or have been roofied will receive equal amount of resources and help.
And Mia, you did something similar as well. You started a petition to get the police department to take these things more seriously.
Yes, I did. After I had also posted on social media about my experience at the police department, I had many people, primarily women, but some men also reaching out to me saying that the same thing had happened to them. And sadly, a lot of their cases were more serious than mine. You know, they weren't lucky enough to be with a friend who was kind of watching their back and looking out for them. So I did start a petition calling for the local police department to be taking these reports and to go back and reach out to these people that had tried to make their reports and been denied.
Yeah. And you actually got a bill underway, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm working with one of the senators in Massachusetts. We created a bill, Bill S-1371 of Massachusetts, and it's basically changing the date rape drug testing protocols in Massachusetts. So we are offering a $300,000 bulk allocation of testing strips across bars, restaurants, and nightclubs in Massachusetts, changing date rape drug testing protocols across all hospitals in Massachusetts so people don't have to be sexually assaulted and raped, as well as a public health task force so we can keep track of the data much better and be able to know like what's happening and like how many people are coming in to get tested. And then of course, trauma-informed care in the emergency departments.
Yeah, so important. All right, coming up, a woman determined to come up with a solution to save people from getting their drinks spiked. We're going to meet her next. Tonight, we're talking about the dark truths behind drink spiking. Kim became an expert on the subject after a friend was drugged. Now, she lives in Germany and says she's been seeing a huge increase in the US and abroad since COVID.
I always naively thought that drink spiking happens in a major city, somewhere very far away from me. We went to a small town party where everyone knows everybody. And a friend of mine, she was found undressed and several men did horrible things with her. And in the hospital, they found that she was drugged with GHB, so it was without her consent. And she's traumatized from this. And this was the first time where I felt like, okay, there must be an easy solution because you can fly to the moon, you can FaceTime with somebody on the other side of the planet, but when I go out and order a Coke, I cannot be safe. This is not acceptable, and we want to make a change. We have invented this wristband here to check if a drink has been spiked, so you can test the drink, which was not possible before because the date rape drug, for example, GHB, you cannot smell, test, or see in a drink. It's impossible with a human senses to detect it. Many victims feel ashamed. They feel it's their fault. Maybe they did something wrong. This is so important to make this clear. It's never, never, ever the person's fault. Never. Nobody on earth is allowed to put anything in your drink without your consent.
Well, founder of Xantis Drink Check wristband from Germany is Kim, and you have come up with a very instantaneous, very convenient, and very clear way for people to test their drink on the spot, whether it's safe or it's been spiked, correct?
Correct, sir. We started in 2019, launching the product in Germany. There are around a little bit over 1 million out.
Oh, all right. These things are putting the control back in people's hands, and it's a reminder when they've got them on their wrist, right?
Right. When we were developing the product, we thought what is needed. So it needs to be a super easy test that you can use whenever, even if you had a beer or maybe two, that you can just forget, you put it on and you just forget about it. You don't need to carry something with you. But whenever you grab a drink, it reminds you there was something. And of course, it deters in advance because I think the bad guys, they don't want to be caught.
Yeah. Well, let's do a demonstration here and show people how this works because I think this is amazing technology. Now, there are test strips out there, but I think you've made this really, really usable. Even I can do this. You know, tell me if I'm doing this right. This is a drink that we know or assume to be clear. So I'm just going to take a few drops from the straw and put it on one of these test spots.
That's enough, yeah. If it's good, it just fades the green. It becomes greenish, yellowish.
Now we have here a GHB and H2O solution.
It just needs like 3 or 4 drops.
Oh, wow. Instantly changes.
Right. When you wait around like 10 seconds and rub it a little bit in, it will get stronger in the blue.
I don't want to lick my fingers. So, I mean, that's instantly shows up. So somebody in a club, a private home, whatever, can put that on there. Now, this tests for GHB, right?
Yeah, liquid ecstasy, correct.
Okay. So somebody can wear this, they're in a club, can put a few drops on there with their finger or their straw, and it shows up real clear. Are y'all seeing this clearly? How fast it shows up. And man, I'm telling you, if you guys had had the opportunity to do that, every one of you would be in a different situation today, right?
100%.
That's amazing. You've had a lot of people report back that they tested this and found that sure enough, they caught a spiked drink.
I personally met or phoned with them was 23 women. And in 2 cases, they even were able to catch 2 persons like in flagrant, like on the spot where they were doing it. They were able to call police, and I'm not sure if they're in prison, but they're legally assaulted. And in one case, in Natalie's case, for example, it was her female friend at her birthday party.
did it.
Yeah.
Her friend did it.
Out of not thinking it through, but out of just being mean and this.
Yeah. What a friend.
Yeah.
What a friend.
It's the wrong word, friend.
All right. Coming up, what to do if you suspect your drink was drugged. We'll talk about that next.
Hi, I'm Shira. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Nightcap.
And I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder and president, and also Shira's brother.
Nightcap is the drink spiking prevention scrunchie. You can wear it in your hair or on your wrist. And when you go out to the bar, you pull out the cover from its pocket, place it over the top of your drink, and pop in a straw. I thought of Nightcap after a friend of mine was roofied. We then got the opportunity to go on Shark Tank and got one of the fastest deals in the show's history with Lori Grenier.
What we've noticed is that this problem goes unreported way too often. This is mostly because people feel embarrassed to talk about it, they get accused of drinking too much, and hospitals are unwilling to test them unless they've been assaulted. A common misconception is that this is only happening to women. However, men are being drugged, robbed, and assaulted.
Stay safe and never leave your drink unattended.
Well, tonight my guests say they were vomiting, disoriented, out-of-body experiences, stumbling, in and out of consciousness, blacked out memory, after what's commonly called getting roofied. These drugs are powerful, they're quick, they don't stay in the blood very long, so sometimes if you delay and get tested, there might not be anything there. You know, there are some ways to fight this back. Another technique is this scrunchie that you can wear these like a ponytail or on your wrist, and you can pull this little thing out, and it has, this is called Nightcap, and I'm sure I'll spill this all over you, Kim, time I get it on here. But you just put this on top of your drink when you're out somewhere, and then it's got a place for the straw. It makes it more difficult for somebody to put something in there. Mia, you don't like this.
I can definitely appreciate that they are really good measures to try and keep yourself safe. I think it can sometimes impede on a night out when you have to make sure that you have all of your safeguards before you go and enjoy your time, is the only thing. I think they're great to prevent that from happening. It just is really unfortunate.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do it at all. So I want people to know what to do if you think that you've been roofied. Talk to a trusted friend immediately, because you may not have your full faculties back about you. Talk to somebody that you can lean on at that time. Quickly drink plenty of water, because anything you can do to dilute this in your system helps you. Note the time that it may have happened. You got it down to 10 or 12 minutes, a window that this kicked into you.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of got to thank social media for that, because, you know, you want to take videos and everything. And in my case, it quite literally is the reason why I got to safety, because I thought I was having fun, but now I have a timestamp and I know exactly what happened, and it's empirical.
Yeah, and that helps you bracket down if you're going to look for suspects and that sort of thing. And you do want to alert the club, the event, or bar management, because as you bring about things like you're doing that have inspired other states to do the same thing, accountability is going to start ratcheting up. Shows like this are going to get people saying, because I'm telling you, if I owned a bar and I was watching this broadcast, I'd be having a staff meeting the next day saying, hey, guys, we need to go on watch. My final thoughts when we come back. We're back talking about something that's going on in this country, and it's actually poisoning people for either personal gain or actually sport in some circumstances where people think it's funny. And you do need to report this. You do need to make a record of this. And you're doing something with that data, Kim.
Right. We have implemented on the website that whenever you have a positive test, we have a QR code that you can scan and then just register, where's your location, what did I drink, you can show the picture. So we can create a map and collect of people's incidents. So when I go to a bar and I see, oh, there's 10 incidents popping up since yesterday, I know that something is super wrong with this bar. The bar or the event or the college or the cruise lines are a big problem too. They need to take action and consider some safety measurements, and people will be warned.
Yeah, there are hot spots, and you can track that. And with social media, that's one of the positives about it. You can put that information out and put people on alert so they can do it. As I've said, what I keep coming back to is, don't you ask yourselves the question, who does this? One of the most common questions I get on the street from people is, Dr. Phil, did you see that story? Who does that? But when people ask me that, it's not rhetorical. They're really asking, who does that? So they know who to watch for, what red flags do you look for? And so I do pay attention to that. I focus on why people do what they do and don't do what they don't do. And put yourself in this situation, knowing what it's done to all of these people here. How absent of empathy would you have to be to do that to someone else? How much of a sociopath would you have to be? How selfish would you have to be? How much would your moral compass have to be spinning around? And you really need to pay attention. I was raised where we were always told, you give your fellow man the benefit of the doubt. Be positive. Give your fellow man the benefit of the doubt. And I've always thought that was the craziest damn thing I've ever heard in my life. Why would you give someone you don't know the benefit of the doubt? Or why would you assume they're evil or bad? What you do is you collect information about that person, watch what they do, hear what they say, make observations, and based on that data, you attribute certain traits and characteristics to them. We always talk about bias and prejudice. There's positive bias and prejudice also, where we just assume someone is okay. That's crazy. And you need to teach your children, your grandchildren, whoever's going out into the world, don't have rose-colored glasses on. Don't have a positive bias just because somebody's dressed well, or they have a nice car or a nice address, or they have good grammar, that they're nice people. You can't assume that. You have to be careful and collect data until you see this person. I spent 21 years in Hollywood, and people would say, what's this celebrity like? And I'd always say, well, they're nice to me. And they said, well, yeah, everybody's nice to you, but I always pay attention, if I'm around them, how they treat waiters, valets, janitors, people like that. That's what I always sit back and watch. And if they're really dismissive or even rude or abusive to people that they consider themselves to be better than, I always think, okay, that's an ass. Yeah. That's what I always pay attention to. You got to watch people when they don't know you're watching. Pay attention to what they do when, they think it's okay or acceptable. Just don't give people benefit of the doubt until you have evidence to base it on. So, talk to your children, and congratulations on this, because it's a reminder, it's an instant test, it's a way to protect. And I'm telling you, people that do this are not okay. So pay attention, listen, watch. People will show you who they are. Look, we're out of time today. We're so glad you found us here on Merritt Street. We have programming the whole family can use, morning, noon, and night. So turn us on, tune in all day long. I want to thank all of my guests. Thank you guys for coming and sharing about all this. It really makes a difference. Make sure each of you stays safe while you're out. Everyone is going home with a Scrunchy nightcap drink cover and Kim's Xantis Drink Safe wristband, so you'll have those for you. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much.